Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Kevarata Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Kevarata Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachara Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari We will be reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations, Text 51. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narom Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiyayat Nastabesha Bhatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevyam Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavitanaistike. Text 51. Idam bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru. Please repeat. Idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho ayam vibhūtīnāṁ etad vipulī kuru. Idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho ayam vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru. Idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho ayam vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru. Very good. Mataji, please. Idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho ayam vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru. Idaṁ bhagavatam nāma yanme bhagavatoditam saṅgraho ayam vibhūtīnāṁ tvam etad vipulī kuru. Word for word translation. Idam, this Bhagavatam, the signs of Godhead, nāma, of the name, yat, that which, me, unto me, Bhagavatāṁ, by the personality, moment, I have to turn the page. By the personality of Godhead, uditam, enlightened, saṅgrahaḥ, is the accumulation of ayam, his, vibhūtīnāṁ, of the diverse potencies, tvam, your good self, etad, the signs of Godhead, vipulī, expand, kuru, do it. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki. O Narad, the signs of God, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand these signs yourself. Please repeat. O Narad, the signs of God, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand these signs yourself. The Bhagavatam, in a nutshell, spoken by the Personality of Godhead in about half a dozen verses, which will appear ahead, is the signs of God. And it is the potent representation of the Personality of Godhead. He, being absolute, is non-different from the signs of God. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Brahmaji received the signs of Godhead from the Lord directly, and he handed over the same to Narad, who in turn ordered Śrīla Vyāsadeva to expand it. So the transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not mental speculation by the mundane wranglers, but is uncontaminated, eternal, perfect knowledge beyond the jurisdiction of the material modes. The Bhagavata Purāṇa is therefore the direct incarnation of the Lord in the form of transcendental sound, and one should receive this transcendental knowledge from the bona fide representative of the Lord in the chain of disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahmaji, from Brahmaji to Narad, from Narada to Vyas, from Vyāsadeva to Śukadeva Gosvāmī, from Śukadeva Gosvāmī to Sūta Gosvāmī. The ripened fruit of the Vedic tree drops from one hand to another without being broken by falling suddenly from a high branch down to the earth. Therefore, unless one hears the signs of Godhead from the bona fide representative of the disciplic succession, as above mentioned, for one to understand the theme of the signs of Godhead will be a difficult job. It should never be heard from professional Bhagavatam reciters who earn their livelihood by gratifying the senses of the audience. Om Ajnanatimandasya Jananjana Shanaka Sakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chichetayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svamrupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shigo Shiyuda Padakamanam Shigum Vaishnavam Sham Shirupam Jagachatam Sakanaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parjanasaitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakanalita Shivishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanashvri Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Haripriye Vanka Kalpta Visha Kripa Sinabhe Visha Padnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Śrīmati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravanya Pacharani. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desattarani. In this chapter we heard about all the incarnations of the Lord, the main incarnations which are further described in this beautiful Bhagavatam. And then after describing all these incarnations, Krishna is described in a few verses. And after that here, the Srimad-Bhāgavatam is described as a literary incarnation of Krishna. And a little further, in the next chapter, in verse 4, there Maharaj Parikshit will point out the result of hearing the Bhagavatam. In 284, Shimvata Shradaya Nityam Shrinatas Svasestitam Kalena Nati Dirhya Hena Bhagavam Vishateridi. So Maharaj Pariksit said, because he wanted to be absorbed, completely absorbed in hearing about Krishna. His end is coming in a few days. So that's very important that for him. So therefore he says, persons who are hearing the Bhagavatam regularly, that so it's nityam, regularly. We are hearing the Bhagavatam. We are hearing the Bhagavatam in the morning and in the evening. In the evening, mostly bhagavatoditam. Is there any other institution than the Hare Krishna movement who studies daily, morning and evening, the goal of life? You will not find it. And one must hear Maharaj Pariksit and must take the matter very seriously. And if you do that, what will happen? Then he says, the personality of Godhead, see Krishna, will manifest in your heart in a short time. So we heard that already in the first canto. In the first canto, in the purport, last purport of the third chapter of the first canto, that Śrīla Prabhupada speaks about how to extract Krishna from the pages of the Bhagavatam. And this is the method here, that in the purport, Śrīla Prabhupada writes, Maharaj Pariksit personally recommends that one hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam regularly, nityam, always by one's own effort and with serious devotion. Oh, we must make an effort and serious devotion. That will help one to see Lord Krishna manifested in one's heart in a short time. Now, in the purport of the verse today, there, Śrīla Prabhupada, he addresses a few subjects. And I found the same subjects in the last verses of Krishna Lila Stav of Sanatana Gosvāmī. I'm sure that those who are serious in studying the Bhagavatam, they know these verses, but I will chant them and point out the similarity with the purport here. This Sarva Sastra Bipiyusa Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikpada Sarva Bhagavata Purāṇa Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabhu Kalidvando Titatitya Shri Krishna Prarivahtitam. So, O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic literature, is the nectar of all Vedic literature, a most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas. That's what Śrīla Prabhupada addresses in the purport. How Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the ripened fruit of the Vedas. O you who are enriched with jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O life breath of Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned among us. So it is actually Lord Krishna. In the purport of the verse today, Śrīla Prabhupada writes, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the direct incarnation of the Lord in the form of transcendental sound. So, and now there is a third point. Paramananda Padnayam Prema Varsyaksarayate Sarvada Sarvasefyaya Shri Krishna Namostume. O Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. By reading you, one attains transcendental bliss for your syllables, reign pure love of God upon the reader. You are always served by everyone. So we have heard before, it's a ripened fruit of the Vedas, and Śrīla Prabhupada writes, it comes down from one hand to another very carefully, because it's ripe. If it drops, it's ruined. So it's ripe, it comes down slowly, carefully, given from one hand to another. It does not fall suddenly from the high branch to the earth, because you have the ripened fruit. The Vedas are like a desire tree, and you can get many things from the Vedas, but the highest is this pure love of God, and it's the highest fruit. It has to come down from the highest. It's not easy to get it. And to get it, one must hear from a bona fide representative in a disciplic succession. For otherwise, Śrīla Prabhupada writes, understanding the signs of God is a very difficult job. And he warns, do not hear from professional Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reciters. Now, there is, of course, we will hear further in the Bhagavatam, because the result of hearing the Bhagavatam is getting this ecstatic love of Krishna manifesting in your heart. It's great transcendental bliss. So we will hear in the next canto, in the third canto, near the end, that 3:1933. This is an example. Vidura achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narrations of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Maitreya, and he was very pleased. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a scripture concerning Bhagavan. So it is special. There are 6 sattvic Puranas, and they are all about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. But the Bhagavatam is about Svayam Bhagavan. Śrīla Vyāsadeva, that after compiling all the Vedic literature, he did not feel satisfied. He compiled the Brahma Sutras, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, 18 Puranas. But in Kali Yuga, we cannot understand the Brahma Sutras. We see that different people read different scriptures. And they see different personalities as Bhagavan. So people get confused in Kali Yuga they cannot understand the Vedas. And yes, they cannot understand the Vedas. the Vedas want to raise everyone from the lower gunas to the higher gunas. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam points straight to one form of Bhagavan. And that one form of Bhagavan is Krishna. And that is the topic of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The topic is the asraya. This is a topic discussed in the 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is about Bhagavan. It is about Bhagavatam, but actually it is about Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate form that can give ultimate bliss to the jivas, ultimate bliss. So it is a special mercy that at this particular time the Bhagavatam appears and glorifies Krishna. It is through the work, to this work, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that people of Kali Yuga can realize Krishna. So therefore, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the highest fruit of the Vedas. That the Veda tree is called Kalpa Taru, a desire tree. On that tree we have various scriptures, various fruits. You have the Vedas, the Puranas, the Smriti scriptures, the Pancharatna scriptures. You have the Vedangas, all sorts of scriptures are there. And all of these scriptures have their fruits, different fruits. So with the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, you can go to Svargaloka. If you read Ramayana and are devoted to Lord Ram, you can develop prema for Lord Ramchandra. Then the jiva can take these fruits then and enjoy them. So you can enjoy the bliss of liberation. You can go to Brahmaloka or Svargaloka, or you can enjoy the bliss of Vaikuntha. Different fruits in the Vedas. So, but on the very top of the tree, we have Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So the top represents the highest. The highest or the final fruit. It is the highest fruit, but it's also the most difficult to get. So because you have to climb up to the top to get the fruit. So it is the highest fruit, but the most inaccessible fruit. Why is it considered the highest? Why is the Bhagavatam the highest fruit compared to going to Ayodhya or going to Vaikuntha? Because it is the realization of Krishna. It is the realization of Krishna who is Swayam Bhagavan, the fountainhead of all other incarnations. Therefore, the fruit is the highest fruit. And the highest fruit is the sweetest fruit, the sweet, most sweet. Because you will get by that fruit intense rasa. A rasa, bhakti rasa, which the other scriptures and realizations do not give. So that is the nature of Krishna. So in Nectar of Devotion there is a verse by Rupa Gosvāmī. In the first part it says, according to Siddhanta, Vishnu and Krishna are not different. Vishnu or Krishna, there is one person really that, like in the material world, we have so many paramatmas. In everyone's heart is a paramatma, even between every atom. But so Paramatma is with every jiva, but it is not that it is a different person. No. The Purusha avatars are expansions of Vishnu. They are one transcendental person, actually. It's just Vishnu who is operating differently. That's all. Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. So all expansions of Vishnu are expansions of Krishna. That if we realize that all the qualities are in Krishna, we know that Krishna has 4 unique qualities compared to Vishnu. Then we realize this special bliss. That is why the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is considered the highest fruit of the Vedas. So Krishna is supreme, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is supreme. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reveals Krishna, the highest form, and it also reveals the highest experience of bliss. Ultimately, that does not only mean the worship of Krishna. Like, you have the form of Krishna in Dvaraka, that is called Purna, perfect, in great opulence, and there Krishna is the leader. But you have also the form of Krishna in Mathura. Is Purna Puro, is more perfect. And the form of Krishna in Vrindavan is Purna Uttam, is the most perfect. So in Krishna there are variations of how many qualities he manifests. In Dvaraka, the realization of Krishna's sweetness, Madhurya, is mixed with Aishvarya. Devaki and Vasudev's relationship with Krishna in Mathura, it's mixed with the realization of Krishna's opulence, Aishvarya. But they know Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and Krishna is the King of Dvarka. Their vatsalya, their parental love, is affected and is restricted by that fact. We discussed with the VHG Bhaktivedanta students some months ago, Krishna meeting with the residents of Vrindavan at Kurukshetra at the time of the solar eclipse. And there at Kurukshetra, so there is Devaki and Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, and Vasudeva, and they meet. And when Devaki saw that when at Kurukshetra, when Mother Yasoda embraced Krishna, milk started to flow from her breast, and she went in a trance, hugging him. And Devaki was looking and said, "Oh, how can she do that? I'm the mother." but her affection is greater than mine. How is that possible? So, in other words, the love of Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj is greater than the love of Vasudeva and Devaki. So she was thinking, how is this possible? So that Vrindavan is superior to anything in Vaikuntha. That's the point. And Mathura is between. What's the position of Mathura? So in Mathura, everyone recognizes Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and we are all his servants. When Krishna came out of the womb of Devaki, he had 4 arms, and that is how they see Krishna. So their love is somewhat restricted because they have a closeness to Krishna. But it's not so grand and majestic like in Dvarka. In Dvarka, Krishna assumes the role of a leader. In Mathura, he's still a little boy. He's a little boy, not a leader. So there is a bit of relaxation in Mathura compared to Dvarka. And there are less aspects of Aishvarya there. But in Vrindavan, they don't see Krishna as a Supreme Lord. They refuse to accept that. Although Krishna, he showed the universe in his belly, Mother Yasoda would never believe it. And even if he kills demons, they won't believe it. They were thinking it was not Krishna, but Vishnu has done all this for him. Or maybe Balaram was doing it, but not Krishna. Krishna is our son. He is helpless, he cannot do anything. They never see him as the Supreme Lord in Vrindavan. So is Aishvarya is hidden in Vrindavan. And they will never believe it. Krishna every day had killed demons, and the coward boys speak about that. But the residents of Vrindavan, they think it's all child talk. We don't believe these things. Even when Krishna was lifting up Govardhan Hill, then all the coward boys were using sticks to help. But Mother Yasoda was thinking, my Krishna cannot do that. It are all the others who are holding this hill. Krishna is not very powerful, Mother Yasoda said. He cannot do that. If you want to read about that in Shri Vrindavan Shampoo, beautiful descriptions. But some way, they have an excuse to deride Krishna's powers. The reason is their intense love. And Krishna's powers cannot interrupt that. Krishna is Vrindavan. The Krishna of Vrindavan is the Svayam Bhagavan. And there are different rasas in Vrindavan. Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. But the Madhurya ras, like you have different fruit juices, But the sweetest juice is the mango juice. So the Madhurya Ras is the mango juice. It has a special attraction. It's the sweetest of all. So the sweetness of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is factually Madhurya Ras. That the Śrīmad Radharani, the gopis, they make it to Mahabhav. And in the Adi Lily of Chaitanya Charitamrita, verse 4, it is said that Lord Chaitanya came to give us what was never given before. And what is that? Is this highest sweet food, Madhurya Ras. So, Madhurya Ras of Radha and Krishna. So, Brahma got the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 verses. And then he passed it down through Narada. And here in this verse we see he's asking Narada, you expand it. And he asked Śrīla Vyāsadeva to expand it. So that ultimately we can drink this juice. It has to come through the Guru Parampara, very carefully brought down and handed down carefully. So proper delivery is very important. And to get that fruit, we have to hear the Bhagavatam of the person Bhagavat. That from the person Bhagavat, we must learn the book Bhagavat. That's in the commentary of the verse, Nastravesa Bhattya Sunityam Bhagavata Sevya. So it has to come down and handed over very carefully and heard of those who have faith. And that's the power of association. That's the importance of the Bhagavatam class and the glories of the Bhagavatam. So, any further comments or questions or corrections? Yes? Yeah, I'm a little, I don't hear very well. If you come closer, I can hear. Yeah, that's a very important question. The difference between the spirit, soul, and Paramatma. This is explained in Svetasvatar Upanishad. There 2 birds in a tree are described. So these 2 birds is the Jiva and is Krishna as Paramatma. And we are here in this world because we made a mistake to enjoy what belongs to Krishna. And Krishna is reversed and he says, okay, but I will make arrangement for your enjoyment, but I'm also the witness that, and I'm Anumanta, the permitter. So he gives us, if we do things not in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna gives us reaction, karma. And it's in our heart. It's in everyone's heart. And he has a supercomputer. It keeps everything detailed. And it gives us our karma. But if we want to serve Krishna, Paramatma is also Krishna, with love, Tesham satayuktam bhajadam pritibhakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayantite. Krishna says, I'm in your heart. And if you try to serve me with love, you perform devotional service, then dadami, I'm going to give you something from within the heart. Buddhi yoga, realization. Then Krishna will make you realize that you are not his body, and that you are a spirit soul, and will you give you bliss and happiness. So Krishna does these two things in the heart. More things, but that if we perform devotional service, then he's giving us realizations, and we realize I'm not this body. I'm the consciousness in the body, the spirit soul. And why am I suffering? Because I think I'm this body. But if we are absorbed in serving Krishna, we are always connected with Krishna and feel always happy, bliss. So I hope that helps. Yeah, so that we have tried to explain today. The difference between the Vedas and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is that ultimately the Bhagavatam gives the highest knowledge of the Vedas. All the Vedas are meant to bring us to Krishna, but gradually. But our life is very short. We don't have time for that. So we take immediately to the Bhagavatam, to the highest fruit. Because all these Vedas are steps of coming to Krishna consciousness. And we don't take the steps, we take the elevator direct. And the elevator is the Bhagavatam. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. It was a very nice class, and it was eye-opener for me.
Yes, Rukmini Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very nicely described the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. In the beginning of your lecture, you referred the verse 284, Shrimatam Shadhaya Nityam Grahantascha Svacheshchitam. So can you please elaborate, like after hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam with faith, what kind of efforts we should make so that hearing becomes more effective?
What kind of?
Efforts.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I will read this verse again. Persons who hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. So there are always our own efforts, and there is the mercy. Our own effort, it is said here, we must become serious in the study of the Bhagavatam. Serious. I remember my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, he said to all his disciples, the day before the Bhagavatam class, you should read the verse for next day and memorize it. We are his disciples, but we cannot do it. But anyway, that's really serious. You memorize it and then you have thought about it, you have questions because you studied it. So it's always good at least to read the verse before. And then it's a process that you hear from those who have faith. It means that they explain it like the last verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. Sūta Gosvāmī said, I will explain you exactly the same thing according to my realization. So devotees have all realizations. Not all, it can be restricted, it can be bigger, but they have realizations. And they share realizations with us. We must always have the question, okay, this is a verse of the Bhagavatam today, what is there in for me? How can I benefit from this knowledge? How do I need to bring it in practice? And little by little, day by day, we learn that the best method of learning Krishna consciousness is hearing. That if we don't like to hear, Krishna will also give us realizations, but it's the more difficult way. That so much frustrations and experiences. But hearing is very important. That, of course, there are much more things to make it effective. One must hear from a bona fide source. That's what Śrīla Prabhupada makes this point in the Guru Parampara. Because otherwise a person cannot give you the sweet fruit because he did not receive it. This is the study of the Bhagavatam. Much more to say about it, but there are a few essential points. Okay? Something else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you, very nice class. Maharaj, can you little further explain about here Brahmaji is saying to Narad Muni, the last, this verse, please expand this science yourself. So it means like he has to explain or like dividing, because as we are seeing that previously it was Chatusloki Bhagavatam, like how it expanded. So
yeah,
can you little bit explain on that?
Thank you. Srila Narada Muni expanded in different ways. Of course, we know he asked Śrīla Vyāsadeva in the 1st canto to meditate on the Absolute Truth with devotion. And from that meditation, the whole Bhagavatam comes. That was one way. But also Narada Muni wrote the Pancharatra Vidhi, how to worship the deity, very practical. And that's also part of our education. Because in the 11th canto, it's based mainly on the 11th canto where the Uddhava Gita, where Krishna instructs Uddhava on all the aspects of deity worship. And if you read that, you see really that's what we do in our movement. It's beautiful. So there are different ways, and it expands further. Of course, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam should remain the same, the main focus. But I was here in Mayapur, was 96, I think. This one volume of Satsvarup Das Gosvāmi's volume of Lilamrita just came out. And my Guru Maharaj decided every day to give class from Prabhupada Lilamrita. He says, these are the realizations of the Bhagavatam of Prabhupada. Of course, we need to hear the Bhagavatam, but it's a further expansion in that sense. So it's very valuable to see how it was practiced by Prabhupada. He's our great example. I hope this helps. Good. Thank you very much. Shantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Śrīla Prabhupada ki.